This is the Zhiyun, still not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Molus B500 LED. This is the 500 watt version, but there's also a 100, 200, and 300 watt version, all with pretty much the same design philosophy, which is all in one unit. This cable, the light, the reflector, that's all that was in the box, and that's all that you need to get this up and running. In terms of features, there's really not much to talk about. BiColor COB chip, 2700, 6500. Bowens mount reflector, fans on either side and on the back, dimming switch on both sides, one of which is for power, one of which is for color temperature, on-off switch on the bottom. We've got an umbrella holder right here beneath the light, and then we've got the handle to lock down the position of the light. And then we've got a tiny display right here over the back handle, displays the power, displays the color temperature, and that's it. That's all that there is to this light. But that's kind of the point. It's kind of the point of this series overall and why I was interested in this light, because to be honest, most companies are doing the same thing and just kind of going back and forth on very similar design iterations and maybe improving a little bit generation to generation. But Zhiyun, with the Molus series and this B series of the Molus, they're making these really compact lights. If you take a look at the X100, X60, the G200, the G300, all of these lights are super compact for their power, at least if you compare them to what everybody else is doing. It's definitely not a heavy duty light. Completely plastic exterior, plastic handle, plastic base, and that's probably to A, keep costs low, and B, the design philosophy of this is marketing 500 watts at such a lightweight, right, versus the competition. So it kind of makes sense that this would be an all plastic body. Let me just give you one example. The Nanlite Forza B500, that's a 500 watt LED that is bicolor, very similar light to this in terms of capabilities. But the Nanlite is a 11-pound head, and then it has a control box and 2 cables. And by the time you put it all in the case, you're probably over 25 pounds of stuff to get that 500 watt bicolor source. Whereas with this 6-pound head, and that's it. Now you might be wondering, how is Nanlite, Aputure, Godox, all these people who are kind of at the top of the indie LED game right now, why is Zhiyun producing a light that is so much smaller than everybody else's but still packs such a punch at 500 watts? And the reason all boils down to their cooling. Their Dyna-vort system, their proprietary technology for cooling, just results in a much smaller heatsink for the chip size. So with a lot less metal in this heatsink up here behind this 500 watt chip, that means there's space for other things. So they bring the voltage control back into the back of the light, and now you have it as an all-in-one unit without any type of control box or additional equipment or multiple cables. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages to this. The advantage is just size. You could probably put 3 or 4 of these in the same case that you would use to lug around the equipment for one Nanlite B500. But there's also advantages to having that control box system. One is the accessibility to different types of power sources. With the control box, you can automatically connect either V-mount or gold mount batteries, plugging into a generator or a more complex power solution, or just an outlet. This can just do the outlet, and if you want to do anything else, then you're going to start needing converters and cables. Now me, I use this thing a lot. It's basically just a big battery and power outlet, but it can handle up to a 3,000 watt power surge from it. So I own this for some of my photography equipment, and it works great for other lights as well. Like I use it to power the Aputure 600C. I'll keep it in the back of my car and just use it as a charging base for all my other portable accessories, whether that's video equipment, flash batteries, drone stuff, whatever. I can charge it all using this battery, and it's really handy for that reason. And using a light like a 500 watt light, you can actually get about 2 hours of battery life out of it. So it's really been handy for using with LED, even though I originally bought it for flash products. Now in terms of power output, I talked earlier about that Nanlite B500 comparison. This is about 15% less power, and I just think it makes sense to compare to that light because, to be honest, there's not a lot of 500 watt LEDs on the market. That is just bare chip. The Zhiyun is about 15% lower than the Nanlite, and that is from manufacturer supplied data.
My only criticism of this light would be the fan noise. When you increase the power to 100%, it's not long before the fans come on in full force. Right now I've got the lav mic about 1 foot from my face and 1 foot from the light itself, and I'm sure that you can hear the noise a little bit. While I don't think this would ruin an interview, it's something to take note of. It's equally worth noting that you don't have to drop the power much to get this thing to a much quieter state. Here I am at 70%, and I don't think this has any chance of affecting an indoor production. Of course, we got to talk light quality. First off, we have the closest to 5600 Kelvin that I've ever seen at 5598. We've got a 98 TLCI, which is fantastic, and a CRI average of 96.2. Pretty good in the R9 color spectrum at 93.2. And the only weakness in the expanded range is in the R12 color spectrum. Lastly, if you're worried about the controls being on the light for an all-in-one light, well, don't worry about it because there is a phone app and the responsiveness is really good for controlling the color temperature, the intensity, and turning the light on and off.
Now this light is $719, which for a bicolor 500 watt LED, if you're comparing that against the big three, that is a pretty good value, although there are some even cheaper options out there, but none of which are this lightweight at this power level. I mean, that is really what you're after here. So if you're trying to keep an on-the-go kit, maybe you've got like an interview kit that you use multiple lights and you like to have between that 300, 600 range, then these Molus lights might be a really good addition to your kit. If you have any questions about it or want me to do any additional testing with it, let me know. All right, take care, guys.